I could feel my palms sweating as I set the casserole dish down on the table. The golden brown crust still sizzled faintly, sending up curls of steam that smelled just like my grandma's kitchen on Sunday evenings. This was the first time I'd cooked for my husband's entire family, his parents, his two sisters, even his grandmother who sat at the head of the table like a queen. I had spent hours perfecting this recipe, even calling my own mom twice to make sure I got it right. Just as I was about to sit down, I heard her voice, sharp, clear, and impossible to ignore. "Well," my mother-in-law said, eyeing the dish like it was a science experiment. "I guess we'll see if this is even edible." A few people laughed politely, but the sound felt like nails on a chalkboard. My cheeks flushed. I tried to smile, but my heart thudded so hard I could hear it in my ears. Everyone began passing plates around. My hands trembled as I scooped a portion onto hers first, a small, careful piece. She raised an eyebrow and muttered, "That's it," as though daring me to give her more. By the time I sat down, I couldn't even taste my own food. My throat felt tight, my fork heavy. All I could do was wait for her verdict, the one that could make or break the night. The first few bites around the table were quiet, the kind of quiet that makes you hyper-aware of every scrape of a fork and every clink of a glass. I watched my mother-in-law's face carefully, searching for any sign of approval. And then it happened. She set her fork down with a loud clink, pushed her plate an inch away, and sighed dramatically. "I knew it," she said, shaking her head. "This is barely seasoned. Honestly, I should have just cooked tonight." The words landed like a slap. My stomach twisted, and for a second, I thought I might cry right there at the table. I had spent all afternoon chopping, stirring, tasting, pouring myself into this dish, and with one sentence, she had dismissed it completely. I forced a small laugh, hoping to brush it off, but my voice cracked. "I'm sorry," I said softly, my throat tight. "I really tried." But she wasn't done. "Sweetheart, cooking isn't just about following a recipe. Some of us were just born with the touch." A few of the cousins exchanged awkward glances. One of his sisters reached for the breadbasket like she wanted to disappear. My husband's hand brushed mine under the table, just a quick squeeze, but it was enough to stop the tears from falling. I stared down at my plate, wishing I could melt into the floor. And then, just as the silence stretched too long to bear, my husband cleared his throat. My husband's chair scraped softly against the floor as he sat up straighter. His voice was calm, but there was a quiet strength in it that made everyone at the table look up. "Actually, Mom," he said, setting his fork down, "I made this dish." For a moment, no one moved. The words seemed to hang in the air like smoke. His mother blinked. "What?" "I made it," he repeated, his tone gentle but firm. "I asked my wife to teach me Grandma's recipe. I wanted to surprise everyone, to honor her memory tonight." The entire table went silent. Even the clinking of utensils stopped. His mom's face went through a storm of emotions, shock, disbelief, then something almost like embarrassment. She had spent years bragging that her son never lifted a finger in the kitchen, never needed to. I didn't know you cooked," she finally said, her voice quieter now. He smiled, a little sheepishly. "I'm learning. And if it's not perfect, that's on me. But I really hoped you'd like it." I felt my throat tighten, but this time it wasn't from humiliation, it was from pride. My husband had just taken every ounce of criticism aimed at me and put it squarely on his own shoulders. Across the table, his younger sister grinned. "Wait, you made this?" "No way. It's actually really good." A few other relatives nodded in agreement, murmuring their approval. The tension in the room began to shift, like a window had been opened to let in fresh air. For a long moment, no one spoke. The only sound was the faint ticking of the old clock on the wall. My mother-in-law's fork hovered over her plate, as though she was deciding whether to eat or to walk away. Then, unexpectedly, my husband's aunt broke the silence. "Well," she said warmly, taking another bite, "I think it's delicious. You did a good job, both of you." A cousin chimed in, nodding. Yeah, this tastes exactly like Grandma's. She would have been proud. Their words rippled around the table. One by one, relatives began nodding, smiling, even taking second helpings. Laughter, soft at first, then more confident, filled the room again. I risked a glance at my mother-in-law. She wasn't smirking anymore. Instead, she stared at her plate, almost as if she was seeing it for the first time. Her lips pressed into a thin line, and then, slowly, she picked up her fork and took another bite. Her voice, when it came, was softer. "It is pretty good," she admitted. The air felt lighter immediately, as though the entire room exhaled at once. My husband smiled, giving my hand another squeeze under the table. In that moment, I saw something shift in her, not a complete change, not yet, but a crack in the armor. For the first time that evening, she looked at me, not past me. There was something in her eyes that almost looked like respect. Dinner ended on a very different note than it began. Plates were scraped clean, the sound of conversation filled the room again, and even I found myself laughing at a cousin's joke. The knot in my chest had finally started to loosen. As we were clearing the table, my mother-in-law approached me. For a second, I braced myself, half expecting another jab, but her expression was different now. Softer. She hesitated, then said quietly, "I may have been too hard on you earlier." I blinked, surprised. She glanced at the casserole dish, then back at me. "You're a good cook. And you're good for my son. Thank you for teaching him this. He's never looked so proud of something he made." Her words caught me off guard. I felt a lump rise in my throat, but this time, it wasn't from humiliation. It was from relief. I smiled. "Thank you. That means a lot." Later that night, as we drove home, my husband reached for my hand. "You okay?" he asked. I nodded, staring out at the quiet, starry sky. "Better than okay," I said with a small smile. Because that night, I'd learned something important, that family isn't about being perfect or proving yourself. It's about standing together, even when things get messy, and choosing to see the best in each other. And for the first time since marrying into this family, I felt like I truly belonged.